just going to watch. Is it good?
Just like you come back from break.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Thanks. Just, again, save me one. At least one. Welcome
Sure,
back to Prep Rewind. Of course, we're at Salvo Seafood. As you see Jason munching
onion
on
rings.
some grindage, as Paulie Shore from the 80s would say. We got our pins together. I got my red pin. He's got his green pin. We're going to make our picks for you. And the first game of Week 5 is going to be the game of the week. Sophie Wright at South Plaquemines. We pretty much teased it. And Jason, I'm thinking this is what I got written down. Sophie B doesn't have the right stuff for the Canes as South Plaquemines wins big.
Maybe I shouldn't have eaten before he said that.
But I gave you indigestion?
Yeah. Now, I do tend to agree with that assessment. I think South Plaquemines, this is homecoming for South Plaquemines, so give them a little added incentive, and South Plaquemines will win homecoming.
Yeah, see? Sophie B doesn't have the right. Anyway, next game is Belchase Vanderbilt Catholic. We've mentioned the carbs are the carbs, which Jason's not having with the.
No.
We actually you are having a lot of carbs
A lot
with
of
that onion
carbs,
ring.
a little breading.
The Cardinals are hobbling into this game, and Elijah McGuire is pretty good for Vanderbilt Catholic.
Pretty good. Yeah, he's all right.
And I think he's gonna be the advantage for the Terriers over the Belchase.
I tend to agree with that assessment. I think McGuire and the Terriers run away with that one.
Next, we have John Curtis, Riverside. John Curtis is hosting the Rebels, and really.
Now, to be fair, South Plaquemines beat Cohen by more than John Curtis beat Cohen.
Ooh, potential Week 10 heavyweight matchup.
Probably not, but something good to throw out there.
But that doesn't mean anything good for Riverside this week against Curtis.
No.
I mean, the number one team in the nation now.
Yeah.
Number one team in the first week is the number one team in the nation. They blank a team and they score 40. Now that they are number one, I don't think that they're going to look back. I think they're just going to try and not run it up, but they're going to score as much as possible.
They have a legitimate chance at a perceived national championship.
Well, yeah, because they have a week off, and then they're trying to schedule an out-of-state team just to keep their rankings because they won. That's one thing Curtis has never gotten, a national title.
Which is amazing when you think about it.
Yeah, he came close. He finished third, but this is something that they're going to shoot for, and they're just going to roll over the Rebels. Good game, though. Coach Stubbs used to take it to JT when he was at Salmon, but he doesn't have quite that.
Yeah, I don't think he's got the talent. I will pick Curtis in that one.
Next game is your favorite team, the Blue Jays of Jesuit against the Patriots of John Arrett. And the passing attack for Jesuit, I think, is just going to be too much.
Tulane
for
commit
John
Tanner Lee, as advertised. Yeah. He's all that and a bag of chips. As much as it pains me to do it, I have put a green check mark next to the Jesuit Blue Jays.
Yeah, I was surprised when I saw that. And then next, we go, speaking of green teams, we go to your team, the Eagles, as they travel to St. Aug. And,
speaking of as much as it pained me to do it.
Yeah, Coach Crutchfield, after that loss, surprising loss, I think, big loss, should I say, against Rummel, they're pretty much going to be feeding on the rest of these teams. And Leonard Fournette and that offense is, I mean, if Shaw gave up that many points to Jesuit, granted it was passing, I don't think Shaw has a guy on the team that can compete with the top 10 guys on St. Aug.
No, you're right. As much, St. Aug was always the thorn in our side, even during the heydays of Shaw in the mid to late 90s when I was a student there. The only team we lost to more than once in those 4 years was St. Aug.
Little did we know that in two picks, Jason would pick his arch rival Jesuit and pick against Shaw.
And pick against us again. So
good job on that one.
Yeesh.
The 35.
Sorry, Coach Scott. If you see this, I apologize in advance.
The 35, Ron Eagles, traveling to Hornville, and Coach Valden is feeling the heat as they are not doing that good. And the Ron Eagles are going to look to get back on track a little bit. They kind of stumbled in the last few weeks, but they've won some games. But Hornville is just outmatched in the athleticism department, and Coach Valden might not have a job at the end of the year, I think.
No, which is amazing to think, but I tend to agree again, and I think we're both picking 35.
We've agreed on every pick. I think you're doing it now because he's leading overall. He's leading me by a few picks. What he's going to do is he's just going to stay with my
I'll
picks.
just pick whatever he picks.
And we talk about that, and you go Rummel and Holy Cross, and Rummel
well, especially
is
after
for real.
what we saw against St. Aug.
Yeah.
Rummel's for real. They beat, was it Denham Springs last night?
Yellow Jackets.
14-3. So
Not as high of a scoring game as I thought it would be.
No, but when you're holding a team like Denham Springs to 3 points, then you're
Well, not
still
only that, but you're coming off a high from a week.
Yeah.
Which they could have had a little bit of a letdown, which I think they might have. And not to mention a quarterback is just getting back healthy.
Yeah. So, you factor all that in and they still go and win, beat a pretty good team fairly handily. Again, low scoring, but not like,
Yeah.
the game's not really in doubt when you're up 14-3 and if you're in that much control. So the Holy Cross, if the Holy Cross that played against Shaw shows up, the game might be a little closer than we think.
Still the same
but
ending.
I think the Holy Cross that played Jesuit would show up, and Romel's going to run away with that one.
And the next game, which is actually one we disagree on, Brother Martin and Higgins. I'm still on that Higgins bandwagon. Even though Coach Myers really, they kind of struggled at this year, I'm sticking with the Canes for one more week. One more week, I'm going to stick with you, Coach. So pull me out of victory. Plus, public school, private school, I'm going with my public school team against the private schools, of course.
And I've got to pick Brother Martin there. Really, the only connection I have with the band director is my cousin, Mr.
Really?
Corona at Brother
Nice.
Martin. So
Nice plug.
nice
for the
plug
band.
for Brother Martin's band. It's a really good band. Brother Martin kind of got it straight against Errett this week. I think they will continue to move forward, and they'll have some success.
Yeah, you had to mention that, didn't you?
Because somebody got that one right.
Yeah, and somebody didn't. We won't mention who got that right and who got that wrong. St. Paul's at Mandeville. St. Paul's, they struggled. I can't really say they struggled. They played an out-of-state team that was really good, and they lost to them by 1 point. But now they're playing in-state schools. They're rolling along again, and they play a Skippers team that barely beat East Ascension. And the Wolves, I think, are too much for the Skippers.
Yeah, the Wolves won last night against Covington, and what is a rivalry game. We don't
North
always
Shore,
know that.
Big North Shore battle.
Big North Shore rivalry. It's the two schools in Covington playing each other. But I think St. Paul's is kind of getting it together now. Like you said, I think they win over Mandeville.
Next game, Destrehan at Dutchtown. Dutchtown got upset this past week against Zachary. Of course, I got some connections up there. But Coach Robichaux is making believers of not just those kids in that locker room, but of everybody else. Yeah, he had an opening season loss, but since then, Destrehan is looking like the old Destrehan teams when Robichaux took them to back-to-back state titles.
Yeah, they got on track. They beat who everybody thought was a great West Jeff team last night. So I think Coach Robichaux, kind of back in the mix for Destrehan, has the team pointed in the right direction. I think Destrehan beats Dutchtown.
The only game I lost, actually, in the Pickems for Friday Night Football. The other guys on that other station. I do better on their Pickems than I do on ours because I'm a little more lenient.
And who's coming up with these games?
Me.
Okay.
But, I mean, I'm a little, I try to go out on a limb a little more than I'm more of a Lee Corso guy. And
Not so fast, my friend.
You're more of a Kirk Herbstreit, just going to pick the obvious. So now we're going to go to week 6.